What's going on YouTube? Matty with FusaroFitness. Got a new setup today with the whiteboard. Going to try and give a better definition to the term progressive overload. It's a term that a lot of us are familiar with, but too often when someone goes to someone else for advice on how to build size, how to get stronger, how to get bigger actual muscles, a lot of times they're just told you have to lift more weight. You have to progressively overload, get stronger over time. That doesn't really give them much hope. So I kind of broke it down here with this chart. What is progressive overload? Obviously the term progress is built into the word progressive, so tracking your progress will be extremely important when trying to get bigger. Now, a lot of people don't understand that you can progressively overload by lifting the same amount of weight. A lot of times we're told to add weight to the bar. You have to lift more weight in order to get stronger. While that's true, eventually you're going to want to add weight to the bar. You can lift the same amount of weight, but adjust some different variables and still get stronger. So right here is an example of lifting the same load. We took the example of lifting 200 pounds. So let's say you're bench pressing 200 pounds. That's the weight that you work with. Now, lifting that same 200 pounds, you can increase the distance or the range of motion. So you might have shitty form with 200 pounds and you may only be doing this. By getting full range of motion with better form, that is a form of progress. Increasing the volume, the amount of sets and reps you are doing. Example, you can lift 200 pounds for 3 sets of 5. That's as much as you can do. By doing 200 pounds for 5 sets of 5, you've lifted the same amount of weight, but you've gotten stronger. You were able to increase the volume. You can increase the density or the amount of rest time, getting more work done in a shorter period of time. So if it normally takes you 180 seconds or 3 minutes of rest between sets and you cut that down to 90 seconds, you were able to recover faster, which again is another form of progress. Intensity. You can increase the acceleration or the speed at which you lift the weight. So if you are struggling and grinding out 200 pounds on the bench press and you're able to increase the speed at which you lift it, that's another form of progress. Increase the frequency. If you're bench pressing 200 pounds 1 time a week for 3 sets of 5, try increasing that to 2 times a week for 3 sets of 5. So you've done double the amount of work in the same week that you normally just do that 1 session. Which I always recommend you should hit each body part twice a week anyway, but that's for a different video. And then you also have your relative volume, relative to your body weight. So we're taking a 200 pound bench press at 190 pounds. So a male weighs 190 pounds, he's bench pressing 200 pounds. Take him and put him in a calorie deficit, he gets down to 175 pounds and still lifts that 200 pounds. That is relative strength, which is different than absolute strength. So it's relative to the body weight that you're currently at. So these are a bunch of ways to progressively overload lifting the same amount of weight. We didn't add any weight to the bar here. Now, obviously, that's the most obvious term of progressive overload would be adding weight to the bar. So we're actually not going to cover that in this video as it wouldn't make sense. I could simply tell you if you're lifting 200 pounds today, next week you should be lifting 202.5, then 205, and you should be adding weight. That's the obvious form of progressive overload. Now, to kind of sum everything up, just a few notes on progressive overload. Form first, which means if you lift 200 pounds on your bench press and you're able to progress to 210 pounds or 225 pounds, but your form gets sloppy, in my opinion, that's not the greatest form of progressive overload. Make small increments, make sure you maintain that proper technique and form, then go ahead and add weight to the bar. Progressive overload is not linear. You will not be able to continue to add weight like this. If you look at any bar graph of results or progress, it's most likely going to be staggered, non-linear. That's how people design workout routines. It's not always just going to be a straight road up. More difficult while cutting. If you put yourself into a calorie deficit, it is possible that you will lose a significant amount of strength. Now, that doesn't mean you have to lose strength. This is why we don't go to extremes. We don't cut too much. We make it a slow process. We try and maintain or even gain a little bit of strength or maintain just as much as possible while on the cut. So when we go back into a maintenance phase or a bulking, we still have that strength there. The more advanced you become, the more specialized your training will have to be. Like I said about the whole, it's not linear. The more advanced of a trainee you are, if you've been doing this for a few years, that progress isn't going to be as steady. You're going to have to change some variables. You're going to have to specialize the training according to the goals that you want to reach. It's not just going to be a steady rise to the top. So that pretty much sums up what progressive overload is. There are many different ways to do it. Don't let anyone tell you it's just consistently adding weight to the bar, because that's not going to be possible every single session. And at some point it's going to slow down rapidly. So that's pretty much the overview of what progressive overload is, different ways to achieve it. These are just a few outlined points that I actually got from a great article by Bret Contreras, which I will link in the more information section below, talking all about progressive overload in more detail. So that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below and ask me. If you enjoyed this type of video, if this helped you out at all, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Tons more videos to come in the future, and I appreciate your support as always. Until next time, keep making progress. I'll see you in the next video.